this is all so hypothetical
Yeah.
because it's really hard to imagine Donald Trump quitting. The one thing he wants us all to know is he's not a quitter. No one can force him out. So the first most important point is that he would have to decide to step aside. He cannot be forced out by anybody now that he is the official nominee. He would not just automatically become the nominee. There's no succession that way. But he actually would remain the vice presidential candidate because he was nominated by the convention as the vice presidential candidate. Unless he stepped down, he would remain in that position even if Donald Trump weren't running. It's really up to the party to replace him. And the Republican Party rules are actually pretty clear on this. Either one, the Republican National Committee makes the replacement, or two, they recall the convention. Now, they're not going to recall the convention. The logistics and costs and everything else involved in that make it highly unlikely. So what would probably happen is the Republican National Committee would meet and they would vote on a new nominee, with each state getting the same number of votes that they got in the convention. Less than a couple of hundred members of the RNC who would cast the votes. If those members cannot agree within a state so that all the state's votes are cast in one direction or the other, then the votes are split up according to the number of members. And it still requires, in the end, just like in the convention, it requires a majority of the total votes to become the nominee. There's no rule that says who they would have to select as long as the person's eligible to be president. They could reach out to Paul Ryan, they could reach out really anywhere they wanted to somebody, sure, right, to somebody willing to take it on. But realistically, that person would have to now build a campaign. The interesting question is, in this hypothetical world where Donald Trump decides to go away, do they turn to Pence? There's some people who are suggesting that if a Trump-Pence ticket were actually elected to the presidency, people would not be all that worried about it because either A, Trump would be ineffectual and Pence would really be doing things, or B, perhaps Trump wouldn't last as president and Pence would then succeed to the presidency. So lots of ways to spin fantastic stories about what could happen.